Hey everybody, this is Dan12Beard. This video is the monthly state of the shader video for the Icarus Shaders. I did not get much done on it last month, I don't feel like. I did some more stuff with the clouds. I was trying to get some performance back. This right here is doing something that I think is going to be a cool technique. I've got 3 different testing ways from it. This one is doing the closest clouds real time, and then the further clouds are part of a cube map or skybox that updates over time. It's doing it here at lower resolution. You can see there's a seam in it right here that I need to work out. But I'm doing some cool stuff with it that should get rid of most of its FPS impact. See, this is these clouds are doing per frame, so that permutation there is the way that actually let me get a spot like this. That's calculating it in the ray tracing per frame, like the way that they're kind of moving up and doing all that stuff. Letting these ones more in the background, those are running at a lower resolution and a lower update rate, but they still have permutations every frame. So that was kind of a cool way to do it. I don't necessarily like the noise of it. I feel like this isn't the best way to do it, but instead of it being pixels and being still, it still has some permutations, changes going on. So I think it's kind of a good way to do it. So these are ones that are updating every frame, and they're doing their little cloud motion stuff. And then these ones more in the back here are the ones that are kind of faking it. I think that's kind of cool. I'll switch to a different time of day to show, well, I'll show some of the menu and stuff on this. I want to change this because one of the biggest faults it has right now is, but here we change the resolution. Change how quickly it updates, and then how quickly it fades that new updated version in. This is the thing I want to fix, is I need to keep it separate and then blend it in all at once. I'm going to set the time different real quick, and you'll see why there's a problem. As you can see now, well, let me refresh the shader, and then we'll see it. So here we are at sunrise, and the rays in that bottom layer are happening per frame. Then the stuff that's further away in the higher layers is not. And you can see that update line as it slowly went up because it's taking 800 frames to do it on this setting. Just really spacing it out to show how off that can be. So again, you see the difference in the real-time permutations and then the kind of faked ones. But with something like this where the light is changing so quickly, the differences in the lighting are really obvious if you have this slow of an update speed. So some of the stuff, like you can see that update line as it works its way up. So I want to switch that to just cache it separately and then add it all in at once when it does this. For comparison, I'm also going to, I'll turn this option off. And I could also, it could just run faster than that as well. But doing it this slow means that it pretty much takes no impact to those extra 2 layers of clouds. If I only do the 1 layer of clouds, it doesn't really matter. So if I turn this split sky rendering off, this is just purely ray tracing the sky every frame. And it's just really heavy. So here, this is all done every frame. So of course it's going to look better because it's all live, you know. But the frames are going to suck because there's too much going on. If I, oops. On this version, it is still splitting it into 2 things, but it's doing the, those far ones are then still only sampled at the render resolution that we're running the closer ones at, which is lower than full screen resolution. Hi, Mercy. This video is now brought to you by Mercy the cat. She just gave me some pats on my shoulder. She wants to come snuggle and get some pets. You can see also that here I've got the kind of waviness is set way too high for this setting right now. And let's switch to the other one. Hey, excuse me. And this is where it's doing the close ones at whatever resolution they're set to, and then the far away ones are in that skybox. That's pretty much all I've got to talk about in this video. Everything else is what you just saw in the beginning. I did also add the macro texture stuff, so we've got stuff here where I have the macro textures added on over textures. And they also affect the way the texture upscaling works. So where things are rough, you would actually get like a good rough blending. Where things are smooth, it would still be a smooth blend. And it's meant to work with resource packs as well, not just over vanilla. To add like between pixels, just the way that lower res textures are added, or so that when you're right close to something, you get lots of high detail. But yeah, there wasn't much on Icarus. I'm gonna try to this week finish up what I'm doing with the clouds, and excuse me, I'm tired today. The cats woke me up. I'm gonna try to finish what I'm doing with this week, because some of this is good, and I think that this idea of separating out the rendering is good. Like I said, I've got this seam right here to fix. It's giving me a problem for some reason. There's just like a weird bug. But so what's next? This week I want to finish what I'm doing with the clouds to at least be passable and playable. Then I want to fix up some of the stuff I was doing on the newer water that has all the ocean waves and everything to make it run a little better. And also look better because it still has some jitteriness in the far away stuff. Actually, kind of with all of it when you're moving. I'll probably also add the auroras and the lightning and the rainbows into the this new sky rendering and the physics smoke and all that before I get into the water. Just to have it be on par with all the other stuff I had going on in the old volumetrics, but with better clouds. But then this water stuff, I need to fix the flickering and this speed, which should both be able to be processed by changing the way I do the palm trace with it, for like 3D waves, and then the way I process the height map. But I feel like doing the clouds like this is a good intermediate. It's a good way to kind of balance it. We've still got the super old clouds, and also with these clouds, and turn off the water for a second. If I was to turn off the other layers, just running one layer is actually performant enough to play with. I might keep all these. I like having the second layer of haze. Because most shaders only do like one layer of clouds anyway. And then these clouds are still running as a pretty intense calculation set. But I feel like the renderer itself, is about on par to where it needs to be, just with those few problems. And once I add the rest of the things into it, I can... you see there with the higher level lagging behind. I feel like once I get the other stuff added into it, it'll be good enough to be where I want it to be. And then the only stuff that would be left for performance on it would be making the noises be texture based instead of live noise calculations. And that could be something it's not as much of an issue because I want to change the shapes eventually anyway. But it gets the renderer itself done. And that's I at least need that done to just move on mentally. Also, Aperture has an alpha build for developers now. I have not messed with it yet because I think this first build doesn't work on Linux, and it's a pain to mess with. So I'm kind of waiting until there's a version that's less of having to work really hard just to get it to compile, and then I'll start some Aperture tests again like I did in the first version of it, but not the other two versions. That bloom is way too much right there. Yeah, that's probably this video. Just want to kind of show where things are right now and what I was focusing on and what I plan to mess with next. And I feel like the vision that I have for Icarus, I've got a good idea in my head. And I feel like most of the features have been implemented to an extent. So if I do start, or when I do start rewriting it in Aperture, it should run better because I've got a very clear idea of what I want it to do, and I'll have all this code to kind of start from without any kind of redundancy anywhere. So I think it'll do a pretty good job. And I feel like the just color lighting shaders are about where I want them to be for version 1. I think I said that last month. I think they actually are right now. The only things left to add to them really is the flashlight from Simply Upscaled, and then do mod compatibility. One of the other things I actually did fix in this shader this month was you see we don't have those big pixelated edges with the blending anymore. Blending into the sky, like that should be fixed. I handled that, so it doesn't look as horrible. We still get some of it sometimes where there's some more blending I can do better about it, and it was just giving me ghosting, so I didn't want to have that on by default until I clean it up more. Yep, that's the state of the shader. Thank everybody for watching the video and for keeping up my progress and my shader dev journey. Hopefully things will go well with Aperture, and I'll be able to play with that some this month or next month. And I'm hoping that getting away from the clouds and finishing the water, I can then do the end shader and maybe have like an actual version 1 of Icarus. I feel like it's been closed for a while, but just had so many problems. But if I at least get the last bit of clouds, last bit of water, and the end, then I feel like I'll be satisfied enough to be like, this is version 1.0, and then I can either start on Aperture stuff or start on performance fixes. I might do both at the same time, and as I'm redoing it in Aperture, also do the performance fixes for Iris. I guess we'll see how it goes and how much Aperture's compatibility layer works. If it actually does a half decent job of making Iris packs run, I'll be able to keep both like a working version here and like a new kind of fresh start version there. But yeah, that's it. That's the state of the shader. That's the state of my mind on the shaders right now. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a good week.